LOA truck, I'm so stressed for the election. Please pray for us. Let's check a live update. Canadian election live updates. Most Canadian polling places have closed as of 5 minutes ago. It's looking like a blowout, right? Am I crazy? I guess not a lot of results are in just yet. But it looks like Carney's got this in the bag, I believe. I mean, it doesn't look close, right? I mean, so far. This would be the first time I've live followed a Canadian election. Is anything standing out as wild per region? Is any like weird regional upset? It's cold. Someone said I voted for Joe Biden. You voted for Joe Biden to run Canada. Did the Moose vote? Okay, this is what's hurting Canadian-American relations. Well, this is not really what's hurting it, but it's not helping. I don't know, but somehow Pennsylvania will decide this election. Well, in a way, Pennsylvania did decide this election. If you really follow the domino chain, in a way, it did. We'll follow up as the night goes on. I mean, they should results by the end of tonight or tomorrow morning at the latest, is my understanding. What's up, Big A Clips? This is a offline segment that I think I wanted to add to give you some context in the Canadian election, because I realized I was talking about it live as it was happening, and we had a fun little stream clip from it. But if you don't have any context, it feels like somewhat gibberish, and I wanted to set the stage. This is the situation in Canada as of January of this year. There was the Conservative Party, headed by Pierre Poilievre, who was crushing the Liberal Party, headed by Justin Trudeau, who had ran the country for the past 9 years. Generally, most people were really upset with Trudeau. They feel like they'd put Canada in the wrong direction, and the Conservatives were set to sweep with an easy victory. Poilievre was crushing in the polls, and he had a campaign rallied around one key slogan: Canada is broken. And the idea was Trudeau has f***ed everything up. Canada is broken. It's time to change something. Everything is bad. He also ran on the idea of axe the tax. There's this carbon tax in Canada that makes gas more expensive. It's part of a climate change fighting thing. He wanted to cut that. It was a big part of their pillar. So it's basically Trudeau, axe the tax, Canada's broken, okay? And these in January were working like a charm. He was at all-time highs. Trudeau was polling incredibly poorly, to the point where people were like calling for Trudeau to step down and resign because he was dragging his whole party down. Asmongold was calling Canada's new prime minister, Pepe left, kind of based. He was so set to win 3 months ago as a guarantee. And by the way, in my January predictions, predicted that Pierre Poilievre would be the next prime minister of Canada because these polling numbers were so dramatic. And then a couple crazy things happened all at once to shift things. So first, Trudeau did step down. He cited internal battles, ended his 9-year run. He didn't even do his famous down the stairs pratfall. He just walked up, talked, and left. He was done. And he was replaced with Mark Carney, who turned out to be pretty politically astute for a new politician. He was pretty well spoken, he was good diplomatically, and he projected this real air of Canadian patriotism. His first act was to kill the carbon tax, kind of neutralizing one of the key platforms of the Conservatives. So the Trudeau and axe the tax have both been neutralized, but still a 20-point lead is a 20-point lead. But then enter Donald Trump.
When you threatened tariffs on Canada a couple weeks ago, Justin Trudeau rushed down here. He wanted to make nice. Now he's on the way out. Is that what you wanted?
I didn't think he was going to quit. He probably saw the numbers. Look, I called him Governor Trudeau because they should be the 51st state, really. It would make a great state, and the people of Canada like it.
So it turns out they don't. It turns out their southern neighbor constantly threatening them with annexation and saying that they're going to be the 51st state was hugely unpopular with Canadians. And so after Trudeau was out of the picture, the carbon tax is out of the picture, and Carney, who turned out to be more popular and more nationalist, more like pro-Canadian, suddenly there was a wave of nationalism. Canadians wanted to be proud of being Canadians. And the idea of Canada is broken suddenly seemed like playing right into Donald Trump's hands. When Donald Trump's in the news saying 51st state stuff, that brings the focus back to the major issue liberals lead on, which is dealing with him. Carney was seen as the anti-Trump, a guy willing to stand firm and tough against him, a guy who had knowledge of ways you could use Canada's strengths to your advantage. Again, one major thing that I credit Carney with doing is he has a background in central banking. One of the first things he told Trump was, if you keep pushing me on this, Canada's going to sell all of its US debt. And that will drive up borrowing costs in America a ton. And it actually did make Trump back down, or at least ease off on some of the conversation at the time. And I think that's a knowledge that comes from Carney's experience. So Canada's broken no longer seemed like a good slogan. And in fact, all over Canada, this comes from my editor who lives in Canada, there was like nationalist signs showing up saying shop Canadian, putting these flags on certain products. Don't buy American products, buy Canadian products. And with this wave of nationalism and with the carbon tax neutralized and with a new guy in power, suddenly the polls changed dramatically in a way that I haven't really seen. I mean, this is a 2-month gap where a 20-point deficit was overcome. And so now we arrived to a few days ago where the elections did happen and Carney won. In fact, Pierre Poilievre didn't just lose this election, he lost his own seat in his district, as did the NDP and Jagmeet Singh. So it was a contentious, crazy election. Now, I think I'll talk about this later in the clip, but the Liberal Party did not get a majority in Parliament. And I'll kind of explain what that means, but it means it's going to be harder to get some of the things they want to do done. It'll be a little more complicated, which could be pain down the road. We're not sure. But it is, I guess, good for like the Canada nationalism standing up to Trump moment. Now, one last thing I want to say, just to give full context here, is that the real people that voted for stopping Donald Trump, that got this real Canadian pride, were 45 to 59 and 60 and over. The people that voted more conservative were actually young people. 18 to 29 was the most popular because their main issue was reducing your cost of living. Now, I'm not sure that Pierre Poilievre has a solution for that. I'm just saying they wanted change in the way that like people voted against Biden because they hated the inflation. There's a sense among young people in Canada that something is broken, that they can't get a house, that things are getting more expensive, and they want something to change on that front. Carney will have to address that. I think he possibly is capable of it. Although a recession in the United States would bleed over to Canada 100%. And I don't know if that's in his control or not, but I think that is still the major issue going forward. But in the short term, if you have no nukes and your southern neighbor is constantly threatening you, that is priority one. You have to be able to stand up to that and deal with that, or nothing else really matters. Your sovereignty's at stake. So just wanted to give some context on this contentious Canadian election that was a big come from behind surprise. And I want to fully admit that I got this one wrong. I did not predict how much Donald Trump would push the 51st state stuff and how much what he was doing in America would impact another country's election. So this is back in my live, but I just wanted to give this context and hope you guys enjoy. I'll be doing these live from now on, but I wanted to add this. Thought it was important. Okay, back to the video. Check the Poly market though. All right, well, Poly market's got it at Carney 73%. I guess down from the peak, but can you still bet on this though? I don't think this is live changing. You're able to still bet on it even as the election's going on? Isn't that disputed? Isn't that odd? I guess neither of them are headed towards a majority government, though. How does that work with basically two parties? Does that just mean nothing happens? Is that the classic, sort of late stage parliament where it gets held hostage by small groups and then nothing gets pushed forward and then everyone gets more upset and then more radical parties gain share outside of it until the whole thing breaks? Wait, did you see Trump's endorsement tweet? I should watch that. Trump endorsing Poilievre is like a complete misunderstanding of what is factoring this election. Trump openly endorsing a candidate is like asking them to lose. It's the kiss of death. It's a complete misunderstanding of how this election is going. I saw his tweet, by the way, his Truth Social. It was like this. It was like him saying, there's only one candidate that supports the great idea of Canada becoming the beloved 51st state. And it's like, he doesn't want that endorsement. If he endorsed Carney, that would throw a wrench into things. If Trump was really 5D chess, he would endorse the hell out of Carney. He would get on TV 100 times and talk about how great Carney is. Good luck to the great people of Canada. Elect a man who has the strength and wisdom to cut your taxes in half, increase your military power for free to the highest level in the world, have your car, steel, aluminum, lumber, energy, and other businesses quadruple in size with zero tariffs or taxes. If Canada becomes the cherished 51st state of the United States of America. No more artificially drawn. I can't believe he keeps trying to sell people on it. It's one of the craziest things about the whole thing is that he expects with words to get Canadians to voluntarily give up sovereignty. It's insane. It's insane. It's like insane in human history. I've never heard of this happening ever. I've never heard of it. Listen, the idea of taking Canada's sovereignty is morally repugnant, obviously. I'm never surprised that there are amoral people. I am surprised at how stupid he is. I get surprised at the stupidity. The idea that this plan would work via tweet is crazy. It's crazy. And then I think Poilievre responded. Yeah, he got it here. He said, President Trump, stay out of our election. We will never be the 51st state. He understands that this is a kiss of death. and is trying to counteract it. To what degree, I'm not sure. Long-time listener, first-time caller, how would you feel about helping to build an internet-based third party that represents the disillusioned people that don't vote? I have said previously that I do think that the strains of our two-party system are showing more and more. It is showing cracks, and there is a possibility of something eventually happening. An internet-based party sounds terrible, though. I gotta be honest with you. That's like the worst. I would be the coalition I would hate the most. I hate terminally online political people, and if they made a party, it would be the worst group. I guess it would be awesome if the U.S. had 3 equal power parties, or 4 or 5 or 7. But I would prefer more parties. Yes, that's correct. But the 1v1 has so much more aura. True, I didn't think about the aura of it. Haven't we kind of farmed that aura enough, though? Isn't hundreds of years enough of that aura farming? We could try a different aura farm. Wouldn't it be a cool aura farm if a third party came in that represented most Americans' common economic interests and kind of farmed the aura by increasing our standard of living? Wouldn't that be kind of like aura, like a cool aura farming? Canadian here would love to see the US aura switch. Well, I won't talk about this today, but I mean, it seems pretty open and shut that Carney's going to take this. In fact, Polymarket now has it at 94.6. It's a 20-point swing since we started talking today. It's pretty over. The real question, I think, is not whether or not Carney will win. It's whether or not they'll get a majority, which would give them more ability to get things done. Does win not mean majority in this case? No, your party would need to have a majority of parliament. Let's see if we can show you this. You need 172 seats. Will they get it? I don't know, but I don't think so. And so if not, then they need to make a coalition with the NDP or Bloc or the Green Party with 1 seat, maybe. Let's try and get over the 172 to get things passed. And obviously when you have multiple parties, again, it's part of a functioning parliamentary system, but it does slow you down because they can obviously have different political ideas and values and missions, and they can block things because the bloc could block things if they're part of your coalition. And often in practice, less gets done. That's just what happens. In practice, less gets done because you have to get 2 different parties that have different things to agree on things, and they often have competing interests. In fact, they want to appeal to their base, so they will stop, certain things, and that's what happens. And in different times, that slowness can be good. In chaotic times, like the 2020s, that slowness is proven to be politically disastrous because you can't move fast enough to deal with the rapid challenges, and then people get more and more upset, and it starts to become very, dangerous because populist outsider movements start growing and getting ready to tear the whole system down. Again, not to go to the Germany example again, but if you were to hold the election in Germany today, based on current polling, the AfD would be the #1 party. That's the extreme far-right party. They're thankfully not in power, but if you held it today, they're the #1. And it is because, people are feeling some type of way. Thank you for the, following up my thoughtful discussion on parliamentary systems with your statement. I wonder what year there'll be a presidential OnlyFans. I'm not 100% certain that that's a good call and response here. 2030, presidential OnlyFans. Trump OnlyFans this year to help with the debt. Trump Elon OnlyFans there's some Elon Glazers out there that might just pay for it, bro. And if that helps pay down the debt, it's so crazy that Doge is down to like roughly 60 billion maybe of not even confirmed savings and something like 50 billion of costs. So we're getting to the point where it might net lose money. Actually, that's only if you don't count them gutting the IRS. If you count Doge gutting the IRS and what that means in lost tax receipts, that's like 500 billion. That's, you know what I'm saying? Doge is 350 billion in the hole. All right, well, congratulations, Mark Carney, for becoming continuing to be the Prime Minister of Canada. It seems to be completely called.